right, welcome to the podcast. You've heard this song. I dropped it the other day. I finally added some new intro music to the show. I'd like to add Alex back, but she's super busy. If you've not heard this before, I've got a lot more to do at work, which I've greatly enjoyed. Like we're doing all 90s on Q105 this weekend. Toledo's 90s and 2000s, but not this weekend, just all 90s. Enjoy that. It begins 5 o'clock tomorrow with a 90s mix from DJ A-Dub. And Alex has a lot more responsibilities, meeting with management, a lot more minutia. She has gotten bumped up in management, and with that, you get farther away from why you got into it. The offset is you get paid a little bit more, and then you got to find that balance. It was something that I had to deal with when I became a program director in 2009. I did not like conference calls, more emails, having to fill out these revenue sheets. Like, how are you going to increase ratings and revenue? Point by point by point. I hated that stuff. Another station thing, kind of. We fully announced it yesterday. I think I gave this to you the other day, but full details. RETROSKATE 2 with the Metro Parks at Glass City Metro Park happening Friday night, June 21, as opposed to perfect weather or the alternative of rain. I'll take what we had last year. I think it was late July. Was it? It was June, July. I don't know. It was hot. It wasn't humid, but it was hot. Like we were baking and sweating even after 8 o'clock. Friday night, June 21st, it's totally free except for skate rental and whatever food and drink you want to grab at the Garden by Poco Piatti. DJ A-Dub, Ethan Thornberry, who used to be a little boy and no longer is, but he is the son of a friend of mine who I've known for quite some time. If you've been to the rink before, the Ribbon, you know they have a nice little sound system. I guess it's like being in a mall or a store. Like it's overhead, you hear it, you can sing along to it, but it's not loud. It doesn't thump. It doesn't blow you away. Ethan, Subdermal Sound System, will make sure that we have some boom this year. Glass City and the Metro Parks has given us permission for Ethan to bring out his rig, and A-Dub will make it thump. Retro skate jams happening, 80s, 90s songs. I kept running over when I was skating last year at the Ribbon, and things had kind of quieted down because it was a really hot night. But once I could get out there and skate, sometime after 7:30, maybe it was 8 o'clock, I had to keep skating over to A-Dub, and we moved him inside because he and his gear were melting outside from the heat and sun. And I had to keep running over to him, banging on the window. He was inside Market Hall, and I was like, I love this song. He played. Things are more homogenous now and the same. What's a popular song in New York is probably a popular song here and in Oklahoma. Not always. Some things still have more success in certain parts of the country than others, but generally speaking, music and a lot of things are a lot more homogenous now than ever before because the world is so interconnected. But back in the 80s and 90s, not so. I could rip off 10, 20 songs, 50 songs that were massive to me listening on the radio and hearing at the skating rink growing up, and you here might have no idea of them. Not anything whatsoever. I might have talked to you before about freestyle music, which was very prolific and proliferated where I came. Philadelphia, South Jersey, whose pizza we'll talk about shortly. New York, like very little, if any of that stuff made it here. Similarly, the Detroit techno, I was not familiar with. Growing up as a kid wanting to be a DJ in my late teens back east. Things are, again, much more homogenous now because the world is so interconnected. RETROSKATE 2, what else? Thanks to sponsors, with Ethan being there, A-Dub. Children's Services, Mental Health and Recovery Services Board. Thanks to Mike and Scott from there for jumping on board. Harbor and the YWCA of Northwest Ohio. Here is one thing I will give you for being a podcast listener that we will not release on the air for another 10 days or so. We were going to auction off those cabanas, which they have, I think, 6 of them, at the Ribbon. auction them off for a good cause, but we kind of push that to the side. So instead, I'm going to have a cabana to give away for you to hang out with your friends. I don't know how many people fit it, but we're gonna give that away on my show beginning on June 3rd. We'll get people qualified for that. Now, in addition to that, I can throw you some money for your bill for Poco Piatti, like $100. I'll have Flow Rider tickets for you, Gin Blossom tickets, zoo tickets, Mud Hens tickets, and more. So when you win the cabana, you get all that as well. And nobody on the radio is going to know that for a bit. This show, I do this. We do this because we have opinions. Alex and I enjoy conversation, as I told you last week, like recorded conversations. A lot of the things that I'll call Alex about or she calls me about would make for good podcast content. Not everything. But I've always endeavored to have that. I remember a couple years ago when I started becoming more of a frequenter to the Toledo Reddit page. Somebody said to me, I know who you are. I know you from the radio. You act like you sound like you know everything. And people who have this job or anything else, if you have a platform, it's going to come off that way. And I think I might have spelled this out before. Being someone meek, withdrawn, not having hot takes, but just opinions and having a platform to share them. That can come off as simply having the role is you sound like you know everything. I do know at times that one of my blind spot is going too far with that and actually acting and believing I know everything. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're wrong or you're in the wrong room. This is a greatest hits note of mine. I like to believe that the world, thanks to the algorithm with Facebook, once things went from the timeline, and I know you can move it back to the timeline order and go things from, see the newest post first. But once Facebook decided to make it an algorithm, and instead of timeline showing you what they thought you should see, to pull that away from places and eventually make those places pay. They did it to lots of media. Here, post your stuff. Now we're squashing it unless you pay us. But that algorithm made people yell and get loud and become bombastic to get the attention. You had to find a way to thrust yourself to the top of the algorithm. I think that did major, major damage to the world. Another part of that was with people having these social accounts, and mostly with Twitter. That was originally it was supposed to be a micro-blogging site. Instead of making a like a WordPress blog post, you could just do a micro-blog under 140 characters, a quick sentence or two, a short paragraph on Twitter. And I know many people got away from that and moved over back to Facebook or Instagram because there's pictures, videos, blah, 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 blah. That's why Threads has not taken off. People like pictures, videos, so on and so forth, not words like I do. But with people making these accounts in the wake of Facebook supercharging the algorithm, making people louder, even a casual withdrawn person, I think, maybe even subconsciously, because we all want to feel a part of something, good or bad. I think people felt the need to justify having these accounts. Well, I don't even really like Twitter, and I just kind of like to scroll Facebook, but I have this, and I see other people sharing things. I want to put my opinion out there. And of course, we probably have hundreds of opinions, if not more, throughout the day. And I do think that I don't think this is me doing verbal gymnastics or mental gymnastics, or what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word to describe that? I think there is a difference between an observation and an opinion. Just because I observe something doesn't mean I have an opinion one way or another about it. And a lot of people, again, this goes back to how discourse has changed in the last 15 years. And I try to remind myself every time there has been some type of technological evolution of communication, things like this have happened. Mail, newspapers, much smaller audiences, even though there was a lot fewer people back then. The telegraph, the phone, where you can just pick it up and instead of posting, you're sharing this and that person shares it. And social media is a nuclear version of all that. And maybe it's the end game where I have always thought that there would be a time where, like the professor I enjoy listening to who does the Civil War history course for Yale, Dr. David, it's for the B. Damn. Revolutions always have counter revolutions. In the mid-teens, I thought for sure, wow, everybody's sharing everything. People are starting to get caught literally with their pants down. I think people will begin to become more private. There would be a generation going, oh, I don't want to run into these problems. I don't want to share this stuff. That actually did not happen, and that generation has become the TikTok generation. Similarly to, I just read something the other day. Flip phones are not coming back because, at least as they are currently constituted, networks are too powerful for them because I guess most flip phones you get now are 2G or 3G, and we're many Gs beyond that. And many people who have some type of job, even if it's just part-time, you have to have an app on your phone to clock in, clock out. So there's no reason for companies to make that hardware because there's so many needs in other areas for us to all have smartphones. So the flip phones aren't coming back. So that counter revolution is not happening. So me knowing everything, no, I was wrong. We did not recede into more and more privacy after putting literally everything out there. I've told you my relationship with Reddit before. It's love hate it's love hate more than anything in my life. I think I have really become a responsible user of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. It took me a long time. I engaged with a lot of people that I should not have. There was a lot of angst, a lot of harmed feelings, but now I think I use those responsibly. Like, one thing I always think of is, unless you're looking for something specific on the internet, get off. Because when you're just surfing, unless it's on Wikipedia and you found a very educational rabbit hole, if you're just surfing, get off. That's why they call it doom scrolling, doom surfing. If you're not looking for anything specific, get off of it. With Reddit, I have lost some of my responsible nature. Maybe because it's a smaller, more centered community of just Toledo. Like, I don't really I just go to a couple of Reddit boards. The Toledo board to see what kind of things are going on here in the area so that I can share. And as you might, I don't know if somebody asked me before, what is Reddit? And I only remember telling them it's the front page of the internet. I don't know what Reddit is. It is probably different things to different people. Oh, it's where I get all my memes. It's where I ask a niche question. There's probably plenty of people, younger people too, who will go to Reddit before they Google something, which I can't grasp at all, because that's people just like throwing their opinion at you, which is the crux of this monologue, as opposed to people who've already put their opinion there, and I can go through it and pick which ones I think fit me best. I'm not a diehard for reviews. I'm skeptical of them. Like, that seems like it was written by a bot. Or was this paid for? Or why the bone to pick? I'm very discerning, and I try to sometimes read as many as I can, distill it down with the computer in my brain and go, okay, I'm going to buy this. I don't know what Reddit is. I get memes there. I get news there. I don't know what it is. I go there to maybe find a story of something happening here that hasn't quite hit the news yet. And in that vein, somebody told me yesterday that they believe that Stubborn Brother is going to pop into the home slice. Into the Tin Can spot downtown. Tin Can, the bar closed. I can't believe it actually made it that long. Supposedly it was because of lease issues, not the other rumored and probably confirmed problems that were going on there. And you know what? Good. While I'm not a fan of another place to eat downtown, because there's plenty of those, I would say that, first of all, I love Stubborn Brother. I don't get it as much as I should. Usually when I dash it, it's not as warm as I lose freshness. But if you've listened to me for a while, you know they were in my top 3, my holy trinity of legitimate East Coast style pizza places. Them, Mama Mary's, and I believe Big Slice has closed. There's a filtration system that Stubborn Brother uses to do its best to mimic the dough and crust of legitimate, authentic East Coast style pizza. The feel of it, the texture, the flour that you get on your hands, like the crusty bubbles, like that's legit. And they're big slices. They could even be bigger. So I've always been a fan. So I support them coming downtown, where I think the pizza scene is kind of bleak. Pizzapopolis, they're a big chain brand. It's Chicago deep dish pizza. It's lasagna. I know you can get Wildside. You can get pretty good pizza at Wildside, but they're not a pizza-centered place, even though it's great on their menu. And, of course, many people like Home Slice. I've had Home Slice plenty of times, and my beef with it is not the taste of the food. It's fine. But just pulling up their website, it's the laughable lie that Home Slice 419, authentic New York-style pizza in downtown Toledo. It's almost as far from New York pizza as you can get. I just because it's thin doesn't mean it's New York style. Not at all. And that part bugs me. But if people like it, again, I've had plenty of Home Slice for it. It's good. Just the tagline and getting people to believe, oh, this is authentic New York East Coast style pizza. It's not. So I threw this post up on Reddit, and I was joking with a friend the other day because the board has quieted down since we have not had a, hey, coming to visit Toledo, where should I go with my kids? Or, hey, coming to Toledo, where should I eat? Or any kind of food post. Like, I did joke, those are 40% of the activity on that board. And if they stopped, the board might die. Go figure. They stopped, and the board really quieted down recently. So knowing the Stubborn Brother rumor, and that's a lot of the things, like I said, a lot of people find out things there before it's public. They share it there, and that's why I go there to grab stories like that. I made the post, top Toledo place. Toledo's top pizza. Let me just double check it so I get it absolutely right. Not that one. Not that one. Sorry. Top pizza place, ... And I shared the Stubborn Brother rumor, shared why I liked it, even their white pizza. That's close to East Coast white pizza. I shared my thought. Nowhere in there did I put a question mark. But going back to people have these presences on the internet, and they just feel absolutely compelled to take what's in their brain and put it out for public consumption. It's in a terse way. You go back to, if I want your opinion, I'll ask for it. This was my sneaky way of shouting out Stubborn Brother, how much I like it, but also throwing a little shade at other places where Stubborn Brother might go, which I've already kind of alluded to directly here. A couple of people engaged that, oh, that's a cool rumor. I'd love to have them downtown. But it turned into people sharing what their favorite place was. And I knew that this was going to happen. And that's why it was kind of like a social internet experiment. People cannot restrain themselves from giving an opinion. And this all goes back to the Facebook thing. And you got to be as loud as possible to cut through. And that has made even the average person's opinions louder, especially online. Keyboard warriors. Like, another tenet to follow is, if you wouldn't say it to their face, don't type it online. But not enough people abide by that. I am not opposed to learning. In fact, I think my learning has slowed in the last handful of years. I used to be a voracious reader. I would keep a post in my notes app of words that I would like to use or inject into my lexicon. And I did it every day. I try to come up with a new word every day, or find a word in something I read and include it in my day. Not anymore. I barely ever look at that selection in my notes app. I try to remind myself, while I don't read like that anymore, I do read plenty of articles where I can gain some intellect and learn something. And I'm not opposed, and this is where I will show humility that I know that I don't know everything. And this is a 28, 29-year-old guy. They said, I'm learning to let people have their opinions without responding. That is from A.J. Brown, who is a superstar wide receiver for my Eagles. Best receiver they've arguably ever had, one of the 2 or 3 best receivers in the league. And he's 27, 28, whatever he is, obviously a mega millionaire, relatively speaking. And he called the sports talk station, which is a hard no-no if you're a professional athlete, and always was. It's hard enough to not listen. It's hard enough to stay off social media, and many don't. That's why there are burner accounts for athletes, and then people figure out that was Kevin Durant or someone like that all along. I have no burner accounts. If I won't say it and put my name behind it, I will keep it to myself. But A.J. Brown, he called the radio station, that is a cardinal sin to do. Because when you do that, you let people know that they're getting to you, that they have your ears, that you might be getting under their skin. And after his phone call and whatever else, he came up with this line that I have stuck in my photos now, and I've tried to adopt it to myself. I'm learning to let people have their opinions without responding. So when something kind of irks me, or I want to go, oh, wait a second, or hey, let me add this, they can have their opinion, whether it's the most hateful thing in the world, or they like a particular character in a video game that I don't. Walk away. Like it adds no value to your life to talk to strangers on the internet. Well, I have some very dear friends I have made from internet conversations, but there are scores more people who I did not need to be talking to. Not that I would ever give up these friendships for anything, but like I said, I think I'm a more responsible user now. I do my best to only engage with people who will make for good conversation, whether that's friends or people who I see discussing something, a passion of mine, and not let the emotions get out of hand. Some other things I wanted to throw at you, other food things. Fowl and Fodder is closing. Fowl and Fodder is closing. They had a change in management a couple years ago. They are closing. The Doritos story yesterday on my socials was for a big deal. I bought 5 bags of Doritos, like regular size bag, not vending machine bags. They were buy 2, get 3 free at Kroger. I have a very dear friend who works at Frito-Lay, and I always kind of like poke her when I'm shopping and I see the prices. I'm like, you want to charge me what for that bag? Like, that bag is not family size unless it's for a family of ants, of people who don't have big appetites. Again, going back to the junk food. I'm glad I don't eat junk food or soda, because that's where massive price hikes have happened. I joke with her about shrinkflation. I'm like, even that bag is like a third full or like 40% full, and I've got to charge, and I've got to pay for what? It was $5.79 a bag, so it's a little over $11 for 5 bags of Doritos. That's more bags of Doritos than I bought in 5 years. We'll see how long I can keep myself from eating them, because if you've ever wondered why I eat like today, I have some rice, a little bit of whole wheat pasta, and black beans that I'll heat up for a snack. I have an apple and some nuts. I eat that stuff because it's pretty low in calorie, and I have portion control problems. So let's see how long the 5 bags of Doritos last. It was interesting to get people's favorite flavors. I should have asked it another way. Are there any Dorito flavors you dislike? Because across the spectrum, people had favorites, from nacho cheese to Cool Ranch, sweet chili, and on and on and on. The taco one and the old school bag. I should have asked, rank your Dorito flavors. It's been a while since I've been asked for getting someone mental health help. But I can tell you that the guy that was on, I think, the very first podcast of this year, Cecil Holston, who's become a good friend, nerdy guy like myself, He is accepting patients. Cecil Holston, I can connect you to him. I think he'd be great for kids and teens, especially kids and teens of color, because like he told me, he's got Funkos and Black Panther things, and he dresses like me. He's like the black version of me, even in his office setting, I think on Executive Parkway. He's looking for someone to talk to, and I think he accepts a wide spectrum of insurances, including like Medicaid. Over the Edge, Victory Center, what I did Celebrity Waiting For last week. If you'd like to rappel down a building, I can connect you to somebody who can get you in on this. I don't believe you will have to raise the $1,000. It would be helpful if you had a lot of friends come root you on and to share your adventures on social. But I believe the money has already been raised. They're sponsors, so you can go down the building. It is a hard no for me. There are like 3.5 hard no's. The half is getting married, Oompa Loompas, Band-Aids, and heights. You might get me on a roller coaster, because I know within a few minutes I will be back down on the ground. Rappelling down a building that's 150 feet tall, not a chance. And lastly, while it is a completely different tone, maybe I was too much of a Marvel MCU apologist, even as there was an enormity of content and the quality was dwindling. If you've not heard, they're going to make their shows and more of their content as standalone, which is smart, so you don't have to keep up with everything. There's going to be fewer releases, maybe just two shows during the year, 2, maybe 3 movies at most. So smart decisions. Very simple, quality over quantity. I think we're in a different era now, because the Infinity Saga may never be repeated ever again in any kind of movie genre. I mean, what was it, 20-some movies? 18, 20 movies from Iron Man to Endgame. We may never have anything like that in our lives ever again in any kind of content, entertainment, whatever it may be. Like maybe that was the peak. I think, and based on the pre-sale and a projection of it's going to make $100 million, even though that seems light, record pre-sale, record views for trailers and whatnot. And of course, it always helps to have Ryan Reynolds promoting something, because there's probably nobody better than him. And his feud over the years that has culminated with Deadpool and Wolverine just adds the cherry on top of that. I think while the tone will be completely different, I think the excitement and interest and money invested to and discussion and penetrating pop culture, Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be, if anything can get into the realm of Infinity War and Endgame. Now, granted, I know Infinity War, people disappeared. In Endgame, Tony Stark died. And there may never be anything like that in superhero movies or anything ever again. It was such a moment. And even though I'd love to see Robert Downey Jr. come back, even if they put him in some variant role or super creative, that moment was perfect. It took 10 years to build to that, and so many good movies. I don't know if I want to take away from that. And it was such a moment, and there likely will not be a moment like that in Deadpool and Wolverine. While watching that sad moment was part of entertainment, there will be different kinds and feelings of entertainment and executions of it in Deadpool and Wolverine. So if anything can ever get in the same class of Endgame and Infinity War, it will be Deadpool and Wolverine, as different in tone as it will be. I think it will make 100. I might be off, but if I'd had a conservative guess, $135 million, I think it can get over $150 million the weekend it comes out. We're going, as we always do, the day before it actually hits. That theater is going to be packed. All right, this was super wordy. Thanks for being here today.